Peace, family. It's your brother Marc Lamont Hill. Better late than never. I know it's late in the evening here. In some countries, some people watching, it's not even Saturday anymore, but it is January 20th, day 106 of Israel's war on Gaza. And as promised, every day that I can, I said I'm going to come up here and give you all the update, the best update that I can with all the information, stuff that's not covered in corporate media, stuff that we're not talking about in other parts of the public sphere. We're going to talk about it here. And so uh, it's been a long day, a very challenging day. And so I wasn't able to get to y'all as soon as I wanted to, but I wanted to at least give you the latest updates from day 106 of Israel's war on Gaza. So shout out to everybody who is coming in. I'm already seeing comments come in. Day 106 is crazy. It is crazy. It makes absolutely no sense for there to be a day 106. Write your location, write your city, your state, the country you're calling in from, you're writing in from, you're watching from. We're going to make this short tonight, but I wanted to at least give you all the information that you had. Shout out to everybody writing in from around the world. I see my people from Philly, Growing Folks Perspectives from Philly. I see my brother Corey T always showing love in East Robbins in Houston, Texas. So many people, Olivia in Philistine, uh, so many people here, man. Shout out to everybody. Wa alaikum salam, Omega, New York, New York. Shout out to you. I'm guessing you coming from the NY. And on that note, let's get started, man. I want to just talk about a few issues here that have been happening as of today, Saturday, January 20th. The United States has announced that it is investigating the killing of a 17-year-old Palestinian person with American citizenship right east of Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. I've gotten more updates since that update. It's a woman, a 17-year-old American woman who was killed by Israeli forces. Perhaps because this woman has, or this girl has American citizenship, we'll see more attention. Maybe the United States will care that someone was potentially killed indiscriminately or wrongfully. We need more information. We need more investigation to get all the facts. But the fact that the United States cares tells you something, and it's also a great contrast to what we normally see. Hezbollah has warned Israel that it will receive a, quote, real slap in the face if its forces step up fighting along the southern Lebanon border. Again, in northern Israel, we see a struggle beginning to expand. We already have a bombardment in Gaza. We already have settler raids and military raids in the West Bank. We have the Red Sea, which we'll talk about in a moment. And now also, or already, we also had northern Israel or southern Lebanon at that border near the Golan, or in southern borders, forgive me. We're seeing more forces. And Hezbollah is basically saying, we'll turn this thing up a notch. And of course, if Hezbollah turns it up a notch, it's seen as an Iranian provocation, which will then lead to more Israeli forces, which could lead to more American forces. This has the potential to blow up and escalate. Not World War III, like some people are worried, but certainly it could be a major, wide-scale regional conflict. And region no longer just means the Levant. It no longer just means between the river and the sea, or the borders of Israel, or the West Bank, or Palestine, Jordan, whatever. Now we could be talking about the entire Middle East, and that is scary. Displaced Palestinians in 4 evacuation zones in Gaza City have been ordered by the Israeli military to leave and head toward the central area. So again, by the way, the number of displaced Palestinians is now 1.7 million. So this is no small thing. And they're being told to leave where they are and head back toward the center, which is very dangerous for lots of reasons. One, there's not necessarily adequate housing and shelter. And 2, there's extraordinary physical danger, both because of the weather and flooding, and also because, as we've seen, Israeli air raids, military strikes, etc., are hitting even the quote unquote safe zones. So this is something that we need to talk about. It's something that we need to think about at all times as we follow this story and follow this development. Clashes have broken out as Palestinians resisted an Israeli military raid on the Balata refugee camp, which is right east of Nablus. This is where homes were searched. An Israeli military bulldozer destroyed civilian infrastructure as well. The word clashes is always interesting when it comes to, particularly in the West Bank, when it comes to Palestinians and the Israeli state, because these clashes are usually actually Israeli military raids, investigations, collaborative raids. When I say collaborative, I mean the PA often coordinates and collaborates the security interventions with them. And then when Palestinians stand up and resist at all, if they just don't want their homes def- bulldozed, if they don't want, troops desecrating Aqsa Mosque, or if they don't want to be obstructed from free passage in on Shuhada Street in Hebron. They call it clashes, when in fact it's just a little bit of Palestinian resistance and a whole lot of Israeli military escalations and violence. Um, and the military bulldozers destroying civilian infrastructure is important to remember as well. They're not just killing people, they're not just injuring people, they're not just arresting people. They're tearing down physically Palestinian structures in a moment and in an environment where you can't just build them back up. It is often illegal to build back up the structures that are destroyed by Israeli bulldozers. What they'll say is, "Oh, you need tasrih, right? You need a permit," and then you can never get one. We've seen this over and over and over again. That's another story for another time, but I wanted to at least get that on the books for y'all. Um, let's keep talking about this, though, y'all. Keep the comments coming. Keep hitting the like button if you're engaging what we're talking about. Let's the algorithms know that this stuff matters to you. An armed Palestinian group allied to Hamas has claimed that a captive held in Gaza has died of injuries due to an Israeli airstrike. A 20-year-old Palestinian man has been shot and injured by Israeli forces during a raid in the Rafidiyah area west of Nablus. Palestinian fighters have claimed attacks on Israeli forces in the Jabalia area of northern Gaza for a fourth consecutive day. This corroborates claims that have been made by institutes, by the Center for Institute, for the Study of War, and other nonprofits and policy think tanks and etc., who have effectively said that Hamas is re-infiltrating the north, that there is a increased surge of Hamas fighters in the north, which is important because Israel has said that the north was done, that the mission had been completed in the north, that they were now only going to focus on central and southern Gaza, that Hamas was going, that they defeated Hamas. What they actually did was shift troops downward, evacuate people downward, and completely dismantle northern Gaza, maybe permanently. That's the fear. So no, everything they said was not accurate, and as a result, you see Hamas right back again. And so, after all of these days, all these deaths, all these injuries, they've made no significant dent in the Hamas military force. Hamas still has armed soldiers on the ground by the tens of thousands. They've killed a lot of people, killed a lot of moms, a lot of babies, a lot of civilians, destroyed a lot of schools. What they haven't done is defeat Hamas. So the question is, what's the real end game here? What does it look like as a practical matter? All right, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society has accused Israel of firing at a hospital in Khan Yunis as a major advance in the main city in the southern Gaza Strip threatened the few healthcare facilities still open. This is important. Al Ahli Hospital, Indonesia Hospital, Al Shifa Hospital, all of them devastated by gunfire, by bombs, by airstrikes. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society has no, this is not a terrorist nonprofit, as people will say. They'll basically discredit the source, and there's no reason to. Instead of looking at the fact that once again, a hospital is being targeted, this one again in Khan Yunis. And the reason why that's important is because the narrative doesn't change. They'll tell you that Hamas is everywhere and that they had to bomb the hospital because it was a command center, because it was central for military purposes, that it advanced a military objective, that the hospital no longer had protected status because of whatever was going on underneath in the secret tunnels. And that there's a video on the channel about these tunnels, and the New York Times' role in advancing a very uninterrogated story about Palestinian tunnels and Hamas tunnels in Gaza in particular. So we'll talk about that as well. The Israeli army shelled the El Katiba area and the El Amal, or El Amal, probably more hope, not work, in the El Amal neighborhood in Khan Yunis. So we saw more shelling as well. U.S. Central Command forces have conducted strikes against 3 Houthi anti-ship missiles that were aimed in the southern Red Sea and were prepared to launch, according to the U.S. Army. So again, U.S. Central Command forces are intercepting Houthi anti-ship missiles and vice versa. The Houthis have pledged to continue undeterred, and the U.S. military has said that it'll die on this hill, not literally die, but that it will continue to fight what they call outrageous activities by the Houthis in Yemen. Rather than negotiate a ceasefire, they continue to do this, which is to fight wars and proxy wars. All right. The United Nations Women's Agency reports 70% of those killed in Gaza are women and girls, and 2 mothers are being killed every hour amid the Israeli onslaught on the Palestinian territory. Say that again. The United Nations Women's Agency reports that 70% of people killed in Gaza are women and girls, and 2 mothers are being killed every hour since October 7th. United Kingdom government legal advisors have been unable to conclude that Israel complied with the international humanitarian law in its war in Gaza, according to the Guardian newspaper citing court documents. So Western experts are starting to say, well, we might ride with Israel, but we can't make a legal case for this. Dozens of Democratic Party politicians signed a letter earlier today calling on U.S. President Joseph Biden to affirm his position to Israel's forced displacement of Palestinians from Gaza. So for all the failure to criticize Israel, for all of the refusal to call for a ceasefire, to all the failure to say this is a genocide, at the very least, American politicians and the White House in particular has at least said, look, you can't resettle Palestinians. You can't force them out. This is textbook, run-of-the-mill, garden variety ethnic cleansing, depopulation. And we can't have that. Shout out to you, Corey T, by the way, who gifted 5 Marc Lamont Hill memberships. Hopefully y'all grab them things right now. Shout out to you, Lee Royster, for gifting 5 as well. Hopefully y'all can get this information, join the channel, and do all kinds of awesomeness here. Thank you, brothers, for being so generous. Before we go, I just want to give you some perspective here. It's day 106. We're close to 25,000 Palestinians killed, 10,000 Palestinian children. 1% of the Palestinian population in Gaza of children has been killed. The injuries are over 60-some thousand now. This is a devastating moment. And you have to ask yourself, why is it that at a moment where things are so dire, the national media is turning away, the politicians are becoming less committed, less engaged? The conversation should be getting more expansive, not less. But unfortunately, we're at a moment where Palestinian death, where genocide is normalized. And that normalization of genocide, that normalization of Palestinian death and displacement is something that we can't abide by. That's why we're here every day doing the work that we're doing. We're trying to put a spotlight on this story. We're trying to keep the information coming that the world doesn't want you to know. And we're going to do it until there's a ceasefire. Hell, we're going to do it until there's justice in Palestine. That's all I can say, y'all. Anyway, hit the like button if you appreciate this stream, that you want more videos like this, you want more content like this. We really, really appreciate it. Also, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit the subscribe button. Become a part of what we do here. You can also, if you're so inclined, join the channel. By joining, you become a monthly subscriber to the channel for a small fee of $3.99 a month. It's only $3.99 a month for a bronze membership. You can go from bronze up to diamond if you want to, but it allows us to build the platform to keep content like this coming, to keep more information like this coming, to keep more voices on the channel, to expand the technology, etc. So if you can do that, that'd be great. And of course, you can make a direct cash donation to the channel through Cash App. Just hit $MLHTV. Again, MLHTV. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all soon. Peace.